So I'm here with Kate Anderson. She works as an emergency medical technician. Now, Kate, what are your responsibilities as an EMT?
So that's a huge question. So first of all, I work within a scope. So I have my AOCPs, which are the Alberta Occupational Competency Profile, and then I'm licensed under the Alberta College of Paramedics. So with them, that's their scope. But with each agency, I have 2 agencies I work for, and with each agency, I have different responsibilities. And so basically, I work on an ambulance. I have a partner. There's always 2 people responding to calls or more, depending on the severity of the call. So essentially, the EMT's job, we show up to emergency calls. Sometimes they're not always emergencies. And then through our NOCPs, our AOCPs, and my scope, I make clinical decisions based on how my patient is presenting, and go from there. So.
And what made you choose this profession?
I love my job, and I don't know exactly how I got to where I was. I was in university when I made the decision, and I think for a long time I wanted to, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a doctor, but I just never made the grade, basically. And I found it one day and thought it would be really fun to work on an ambulance, wear the uniform, and
And where do you work exactly? What area?
So I have a full-time rotation on the Blood Tribe Reserve out in Standoff, and I also work for Alberta Health Services, suburban, rural. I'm a casual, so I work Okotoks, Nanton, Claresholm, Vulcan, High River, are all the places that I work.
And what are some of the challenges working on a reserve compared to somewhere else?
Oh, okay, that's a good one. So we're busy on the reserve. It is a busy service. We work 48-hour shifts, and in a 48-hour shift, we can have anywhere from 4 calls to the most I've ever had in a 12-hour period was 11 calls. So I didn't respond to each of those. We have 2 crews, but I went to probably 8 out of the 11. So that's a challenge. And because of the 48 hours, you don't get a full 8 hours rest in between, between calls necessarily. So sometimes sleep deprivation. There's limited resources out on the reserve as well. So in the city, so for example in Lethbridge, if someone goes into cardiac arrest, the fire brigade shows up, everyone shows up. You will have 20 people at this code. I've worked codes where it's me and 1 person, and we're waiting 20 minutes for our backup. And so that's really challenging because the priority in a cardiac arrest is to get them to the hospital. And when you have 2 people and basically a body, you can't get them moving the way that you would want to because you need to have a treatment plan in place. So it's a big challenge.
So what's the craziest thing that you've seen so far?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I think I've seen some pretty interesting overdoses. I think the craziest things that we had a couple DOAs recently, and they were 26-year-old males.
Oh wow.
And so that always really sticks out in my mind. I've seen some pretty major traumas. Anytime there's an open wound with a bone break, that always takes me aback. I think anytime police are involved, that's always crazy too. So we've had people high on drugs and beating, trying to beat cops and get away from us, and it's just screaming, and you're just so that's always crazy.
And mentally, how is it? How do you deal with some of the things that you see?
There's a lot of self-care or at least there should be in the EMS world. I think that I was 24 when I became an EMT, and I think with that I had some emotional maturity already that I had gotten from sort of life experience. In my program, there was a girl who had just graduated high school, and I think I was lucky to have sort of a little more age and a little more experience in the like real world. I'm also really lucky because my boyfriend is also an EMT, so at the end of the day, he knows what I'm talking about. He can relate. He's had some really crazy stuff go on in his professional life as well, and there's a lot of personal like debriefing. There's a lot of programs out there, so we have critical incident stress management, and that's something that's province-wide. So when there's like a death or just a really crazy, unusual call, especially something with children, they bring people who are certified counselors in, and we all get to talk about it as a big group. And it's, just I exercise a lot, I run, I take spin classes, I eat well, I try to eat well, and
Are you happy with